I remember when I was working in my 20s as a little printer over in the membership services building, and they said, would you like to try to become a speaker, you know? And so, okay, and so Hugh Lynn, Edgar's son, but also the president of A.R.E back then, had this setup where you had to study 7 topics in the Cayce readings and be able to speak on one each day of the week. It was called a survey lecture. And I remember my first one, and it was impossible to think of talking for 50 minutes. And about 15 minutes into the talk, I drew a blank. And I was in a little bit of a panic, and a friend was sitting in the back seat and sort of pantomimed. And I went, oh yeah! Kept on going. But back then, it took a lot of practice, a lot of study. And the way I built up to where I could do a whole 4-day weekend retreat with content was every time someone asked a question, I made note of that topic that I didn't cover or they didn't fully understand. And before you knew it, the lecture built and built and built, and that's how it all started. So I was about 24 when that happened. And here I am, 78 years old, still up here. But really, I stand on the shoulders of a lot of souls who taught me patiently, put up with me, and gradually grew into what I can do these days with these fantastic readings that were channeled for us. So the theme for the week is fellowship, and my topic tonight is to speak about fellowship. And so here we go. Let's see, did I turn it on? There we go. Okay, this journey we're going to take over the next 2 hours is going to give us good vibrations. And there's nothing better than for your body to have the vibes that we had back in the 60s. And we wrote that song with the spirit of our collective youth, Good Vibrations. And it's a classic. And I always share with people, I remember at university, we called it college back then, but now they're all universities. I remember we did not look at girls and talk about them over their beauty, but rather their vibes. And I distinctly remember my buddies and I saying, oh man, she's got great vibes. Or, oh God, stay away. The vibes just make me nervous, scared, I don't want to deal with it. And of course, they were saying the same thing about us. I don't like his vibes. And vibrations. And then Edgar comes along and says, everything's vibrations. So good vibes are going to come by what you're going to see and experience tonight. And I'm going to follow the whole talk up with a music meditation with music that Cayce particularly described as being ideal. So we're going to also get high, and we'll have higher consciousness. So that's the journey we're going to be on. I have to start by helping us know who we really are, because fellowship, in the way Edgar talks about it, is because of this concept that he taught, and that is in the Bible. We are the morning stars. It's in the book of Job. I'm going to show you about it. The morning stars are a collective soul group that came out of the infinite and decided to express themselves in this dimension. And they came as a singular soul group. And according to Cayce, no souls have come here that weren't part of the morning stars. It is the soul group. And I'm going to show you a little bit about it. Here's one of his readings. In the beginning, when the first of the elements were given, and the forces set in motion that brought about the sphere we call the earth plane. And when the morning stars sang together, and the whispering winds brought the news of the coming of humanity's indwelling, of the Spirit of the Creator, and then becoming the living soul, this entity came into being with this multitude, and so did each of us here today. Hard to believe, isn't it? Not sure why you really did come here now. Probably looking at it like, man, I wanted this. Do any of you know who 294 is? Come on. Edgar Cayce himself. He came into being with the rest of us. The morning stars sang together. As recorded in the beginning, the evening and the morning were the first day. He's gone back to Genesis now. What transpired on the first day? What's transpired on the first night? When began the morning stars to sing together? When gathered first the sons and daughters of God to produce or to bring about the manifestations that man calls day? And of course, 262 are the study group readings. How many of you are in a study group or have been in a study group? Yeah, me too. 11 years of that, yeah. Here's the reference. It's coming out of the book of Job. And interestingly, after Job has been victorious over all of Satan's tests, God comes to Job and he says, Job, I'm going to ask you a question, but I want you to think carefully before you try to answer. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundations? Tell me if you understand. Now, each of us knows the answer, don't we? We were with him. We were with her. We were the morning stars that sang together with the Creator who conceived us. Well, you see down in the corner, I put Job 38:7. That's because God answers the question for Job by talking about the morning stars singing together. And you were with me, Job, but so were all of us. With this in mind, now fellowship becomes more of the collective soul group. We're all together. We were one. It was like a flock of birds or a school of fish, but we were children of the light, morning stars. And we thought, hey, this is an interesting place. And we came and manifested here. I don't know how you feel about it now, but back then you were pretty happy. You were singing. As the Lord, now this one you got to pay attention to. As the Lord your God is one, so is the law under which, through which one attains fellowship as one with God. So you got to think for a minute. Now Jesus is going to help us in a minute here, but think about this. If the infinite contains everything, and within everything are all these people, all around the planet, and millions of years before, and probably thousands of years into the future, they're all part of it. So in this way, engaging with others actually brings you into the oneness with God because they're all one in God. Now, Jesus gives us a little hint when he's talking with the scribe at the temple. You might have read this. The scribe says, Master, I perceive you are very wise, so tell me, what are the true commandments? And the first thing Jesus says to him is oneness. And then the second he says is love God with all your being. And then he says something that really caused me to pause. He said the second commandment's like the first, love one another. That's not like the first. Have you met these people? I mean, think about it. You and God are having an intimate connection. And God loves you and understands you and is patient with you and puts up with all your junk. Are we going to do that? Well, as we go through with the fellowship teaching, you're going to see how this works out. But this is the master saying that second commandment's like the first. I didn't understand this till I got into my 30s and I was meditating, and suddenly I realized the Cayce teaching came to me that God loves all of them, even the least among us, and wants them to be part of the whole. Therefore, I need to appreciate them and understand them and be part, because they're going to be there. There was a young man getting yoga breathing techniques from Edgar Cayce, and he was getting high all the time and doing very well, and Edgar was complimenting him. Then he came again to get more readings about getting high off of breathing techniques. And Edgar stopped him and said, you know, you're building a heaven all by yourself, and you are not going to want to be there when you get there. As difficult as they are, you need to go out and love them and understand them and appreciate them and get involved with them. I know it's hard, but they're all going to be there. And you don't want a heaven by yourself. All people are expressions of the infinite. Go way back to Hinduism. That fundamental teaching in very ancient Sanskrit times was taught that the infinite eternal put a little of itself in each expression. And then Jesus says, even the least among us has that in them. And in my family, we had some least among us. Yeah, we did. And my kids used to say, please don't invite Uncle so-and-so. I won't say his name. He just ruins the party. And I said, yeah, you guys, but you don't understand. On Tuesday, he calls me so full of joy that we let him come over and participate, you know. It lifted him. But he was one of those people who never heard you but talked all the time. And the kids didn't put up with that stuff, you know. Occasionally I didn't invite him so the kids could have a good time. But this journey we're going to go on here is really developing each of us into a master. And you're going to see that as we go along. Okay, here we go again. Keep self in such a manner as to be circumspect in your own consciousness. If you get all messed up in judging self, and you got to do what you feel inside is right. And as you go through life, your conscience will be the guide. I stole that from Jiminy Cricket. You remember that? But it's true. There will be moments. I still, at 78, remember saying something I wished I had never said to someone in my 30s. It still comes up. So I say prayers to release it. I wished I had never said it. But I did, and it haunts me a little. Your conscience is there. Now here's the way the system works. As soon as I first became aware of what I had said to her as not being ideal, I got another opportunity to say the same thing to someone else who I thought was being a jerk, but I didn't say it. Now you're starting to master your thing. Oh, yeah, I'm not doing that again. No way. I'm just smiling. I have nothing to say to you. I'm just smiling. Be true to self. Edgar actually said in one reading, live your life in such a way that you can tell the rest of us to go to hell. That's how strongly he wanted you to analyze introspectively who you are and what you believe, and then test it out and modify it as you go along, perfecting it. Be true to self, making for those activities that bear the fruits of the Spirit. Just being kind, just being gentle, just being patient, just showing fellowship, just showing brotherly, sisterly love, just bearing witness in your walks, your acts, your understandings unto your fellow man. And you shall know him face to face. He said Jesus went around doing good. Anyone who came to him, he went around doing good. Do you remember the one scene where a very non-spiritual lady came to him and asked him for help? And he said, none will be given to you. And she said, oh, Master, even the righteous and the powerful feed their dogs the crumbs from the table. I will eat the crumbs from the table. And he said, woman, your faith has saved you. Now that you've humbled yourself, and he gives her the Spirit, and her wishes fulfilled. For he has promised to bring the remembrances. This is the other thing. Latent within each of us is all that I have just talked about. You remember being the morning stars. You'll remember the whole thing. It will take time. It will come in little bits. Edgar said the safest way for it to come is in dreams, but it will come in meditations. It will come in spontaneous insights. It will come in intuition, in your own sort of rummaging around one moment in the afternoon. You'll go, wow, yeah, I identify with that. These are the things that will come to you, and you'll know it all. From the foundations of the earth, the world, and the universe. That's the other thing. He said, you are star travelers. You don't just come to this little bitty planet. You come to the solar system and the universe, the galaxy and the universe. You can travel. I've shared that reading with you often. It's in many of my books, Star Traveler reading, showing that when we're not here, we're not rest in peace. We're actually very busy in spirit, very active, doing lots of different things, freed of the containment of the body and the three dimensions here, multidimensional. And then he says, you. Now when he capitalizes, it's because Gladys Davis only had a typewriter. She could not do italics. So when he said something loud or emphasized it, she could only do all caps. Some of you have worked on a typewriter? Very few of us. Some in here don't even know what I'm talking about. Anyway, you were in the beginning, even as he was. You were there in the beginning. This you got to awaken to. Then it really helps you understand fellowship. That's why I started with it. We were indeed the morning stars that sang together. Okay, here's another study group material. If you're not in a study group, it's really a wonderful way to grow. Those readings and studying with other people and meditating with them strengthens you and helps you understand and grow. And meditating with people is, it's magic. Jesus said it this way, wherever two or more are gathered. So when you're with a little group, you actually get an enhanced experience. I lived right through it. Many of these people who have been in study groups. Is Savannah here? She's the coordinator of study groups? No? Well, all week long she'll be here. If you want to look into study groups, you can talk with her. She'll be wandering around, and also there's sign-up sheets and stuff. Okay. Can brotherhood exist among men without the true fellowship? Fellowship is, as first brotherhood and sisterhood, a pattern of or shadow of what fellowship is. For as has been given, all one sees manifest in a material world, in this world, is but a reflection or a shadow of the real or the spiritual life. Brotherhood, sisterhood, then, are an expression of the fellowship that exists in spiritual life. In the heavens, we are not solo. If you look at ancient Egyptian teachings, they actually show how when you leave this dimension, you are not an individual as you go into spirit, because spirit is interconnected, and that you have a soul group, and then you also have an expanded group of all created life, and then you have the infinite in which everything is contained, and as you merge with the infinite, you sense everything. Fellowship is the nature of things in the spiritual dimension. So if you start developing it here, you're already set up to pass on into the next life. I'm working on that. Another study group, 262 is the study group work. No, now remember, she emphasized, so I'm going to read it the way Gladys Davis typed it. No self to be self, I am, in and with the great I am. The little I am is an expression out of the great I am. And as you come to really know your true self, you will actually move close into the great I am, which conceives and holds you. In its being, you exist, though you're not always aware of it. Let me show you how far down we've gotten from the true self. How many of you have awakened in the morning with a dream or vision or a nightmare, and you've noticed your bladder's full, so you go to the bathroom to empty it, and you come back to the bed to work on the dream, the vision, the nightmare? And what? You just experience the two parts of yourself. The one that is only in charge of the bladder and didn't have the dream, and the other one is your higher self, and there's a veil between them. As you engage the somatic nervous system to move the body, you went through that subtle veil into the outer self. You have to come to be more aware of when you're in the earthy self, the outer self, and when you're in the soul self, the higher self. There's even a higher self above that, the spiritual self, angelic self. But just working with your soul self and your physical self, I honestly now, after all these years, know when I'm in the little self, the little outer self, who doesn't really know much and gets into a lot of trouble, and is always whining or confused. And all I've got to do is pause that guy and let him seek the soul self. They are really one, but the one is more dominant and animated in this world. So it has to learn to subdue its dominance to allow the soul self to be more present. And when that happens, everything gets better. You're going to see it as we go along with these readings here. But being aware of your outer earthy self and your soul self is a big step on the path. And then you just have to do it every day. You have to be conscious and realize, oh, geez, I'm in the outer self and he's all bugged about this or that. And I pause. And I want to connect with the deeper soul self, the true eternal self. And Edgar liked to call it the individuality and this the personality. And my wife, if she was still here, could clearly explain to you the difference in me between these two, because she would point it out to me. Your outer self is a personality, and it's affected by lots of things. It's developed by lots of things. And it has predominantly human nature, not divine nature. Your soul self, on the other hand, is your better self. It is your divine self. It has a better attitude, a higher sense of things, and it carries a knowing. So like when my personality approaches another person and I suddenly have an immediate reaction to that person, it's my soul who knows that soul. And that's when you can work with that. You can have a deeper insight into what you're getting into, because your personality will be mucking it all up out there or running away with a wild idea that 3.5 years later it regrets doing. You see, so these are important things to work with. Know the true self, the little I am of the great I am, and then the projected little personality self, who really, Edgar explains, you only get 80 to 100 years with that part of yourself. Then you're assimilated back into the bigger self, and it has multiple personalities from multiple incarnations and sojourns elsewhere. The soul is a dynamic of all that it's been experiencing since you sang together when we first started this game. Your outer self is not your better self, so seek your better self, and things will work much better. Okay, lesson number 1 in Cayce is cooperation. So when you go to engage fellowship with others, here's some tips, and we'll go through these. Listening with an open mind. The personality can't easily do this because it's been socialized. My parents influenced me, my childhood, the schools they sent me to, the friends I bumped into and the enemies I bumped into along the way have shaped my personality. My soul self, however, is aware of human nature and divine nature, and it's more inclined to the divine. So I have to reel in my personality self and approach people with openness and clear ears without the prejudices and the socialization and all the things about me, you know, an old white gray-haired man, blah, 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 and society projects, and I don't let the old man in. Remember that song, Don't Let the Old Man In? No, the soul is there. And of course, I might be dealing with a very strong personality of great prejudice, and I just have to be aware of that. Sharing with an accommodating tone and manner. This allows another, and often this is associated with the fruits of the spirit of meekness and humbleness. If you're accommodating in your tone and manner, you allow multiple different personalities to approach you and relate. Now you're fellowship with different varieties of people because you have an accommodating tone. You allow them to express themselves, and you're not casting anything on that as they do it. Choose your words wisely, and I'll give you a living example. When I'm with evangelical Christians, or sometimes called fundamentalists, I know that they are always on the lookout for the devil. And that's because they want to hold so strongly, and some of the words that have been put in Scripture make them concerned that it's insidiously subtle. So they have to watch because they're holding their pearls so tightly. They have to watch. So I know they are very uncomfortable with the New Age movement. And words from the New Age they can't deal with. So I know I can talk with them if I only use words they can feel comfortable with. For example, I don't use the word meditation. But do you know I can talk with them about silent prayer? Yeah. Silent prayer. And they ooh and ah. Now, here we're having fellowship. We're having fellowship. I've accommodated their view, their feelings, and I've chosen my words wisely. What's the word? I don't need to use that word. You know, to say silent prayer and have them, our hearts touch, our minds touch, that's fellowship. Allowing for varying ideas. Now, this is an Edgar Cayce study group teaching. In the study group, you'll have different people with different ideas, but he says you're holding one ideal, one purpose. So keep this in mind, allowing for varying ideas while engaging with one overarching or underlying, however you like to feel it, ideal. And the ideal is fellowship, because we're all part of the morning stars. See how I've got my mind structured? Even the least among us comes up to me and I say, a morning star. Sure messed up now, but it's a morning star, and soon it'll find its way, maybe better than I find my way. You see that? All right, let's go then. Observing how another person needs to hear to comprehend. Now, I have 2 brothers and a sister, and my true brothers can only hear a certain way. And I've come to understand I cannot project my gems, my wisdom, my understanding, the gifts I've been giving onto them in the mode and words and structure and paradigms that I've been taught. They can't accept that. In fact, it bugs them. So I accommodate them in ways they can hear, and we're still tight. We're all in our 70s now, but growing up was hell. Oh, 3 boys, I mean, even when you're young, we're breaking lamps, doing basketball in the house when mom and dad are out, and everything's going nuts, and it's always finger pointing. My second brother, I'm the oldest, my second brother actually, I remember this very well from my youth, asked my mother if I could not be home when his friends come over. My mother was accommodating. In fact, she guided me a lot in my youth. She was a very mystical woman. Oh, she called on all sorts of spirits and help and everything. But she said to me, you know, would it be so bad if you go to the library? I'll drive you over to the library. I said, it'd be better if you drove me to the pool. And she said, okay, I'll drive you to the pool. Okay. Understanding one's own predispositions towards others. This is real hard work. But usually your loved ones will point them out to you. So if you can't see them, I guarantee you your buddy or your wife or your children, when they become teenagers, they will definitely point it out to you, because their friends are smarter than you are, and they will tell you what their friends think about you. Understand your predispositions. And believe me, I have them in my personality. And I know that guy. And so I can actually feel him predisposed to someone who's approaching. And sometimes I laugh, and sometimes I get real uncomfortable with that. And I try to override it with higher thinking from the deeper self and allowing openness to occur. Believe me, even though Jesus said, don't judge by appearances, we humans judge by appearances. We really do. And all sorts of research has proved that. So you really got to be on top of yourself if you want to master fellowship. And you need to know yourself and your predispositions. All right, here's a very specific Cayce one. Avoid the Antichrist spirit. See how quiet it got? What the heck is he going to do? Here we go. Here it is. This is from the Revelation readings, 281. In what form does the Antichrist come as spoken of in the Revelation? Answer: in the spirit of that, opposed to the spirit of truth. The fruits of the Spirit of Christ are love, joy. Don't skip joy. You know, we all think we have to suffer. We have to have a cross all through life. Look at it, it's listed right there, joy. Now, the next one we don't like at all, obedience. That is not one of our fun ones. A teenage journey struggles with obedience. Love, joy, obedience, long-suffering. Ooh, boo. Long-suffering, as you grow in wisdom and vibration and higher enlightenment, you still have to live here with us. That's long-suffering. You still have to get up with your own weak self, your own personality that is so disappointing to you. That's long-suffering. This is hard work. You have to keep on keeping on, endure through it. Jesus said, those who endure to the end wear the crown. There's a lot of challenges in this dimension, in these lives here. Brotherly love, of course, and kindness. Against such there is no law. He's saying there's no karmic law against these. When you're flowing in love, joy, obedience, suffering, brotherly love, and kindness, you're flowing. The spirit of hate, the Antichrist, is contention, strife. Strife is bitter arguing. And believe me, my brothers and I could get into that. And after I read this reading, I was in my mid-20s, you know, geez, my brothers and I are inviting the Antichrist spirit. And I used to say, I'm not going to do this. And then they'd get mad at me for not arguing. Strife is bitter arguing. Fault finding. Remember Jesus, it depends what version of the Bible you read, but he says, why do you see the splinter in your friend's eyes, but you don't see the tree in your own eyes? First, get that out of your eyes, then you can help judge or guide another person by seeing what's blocking their view. This is very important. Fault finding is definitely a negative thing. When we engage in fellowship, though, we tend to go to fault finding. It's a human nature to say, well, Betty, I think your problem is, how many of us, that's the natural way to speak? It is. Your first thought out of your mind is, I know what's wrong with you. Lovers of self, lovers of praise. Yes, I am very spiritual. You better keep in mind that saying, pride goeth before a fall. Do you remember, I often refer to the movie, let's see, what's the name of that movie with the lawyer? It just slipped out of my head. But anyway. Devil's Advocate? What? Devil's Advocate? I can't hear you. The Devil's Advocate? The Devil's Advocate. Yes, you're right. So the devil tests this lawyer, and of course that's the lowest among us. Yeah. It's a joke, lawyers, just a joke. But you do have a bad rap. But anyway. You can sign a contract today and tomorrow sign one that cancels the first contract. So anyway, here we go. He tests the devil and the devil succeeds and doesn't fall for the first temptation. So he's in the men's room putting water on his face thinking, whew, that was a tough one. He's combing his hair and now the devil comes in as a reporter and says, you know, very few people could have overcome that temptation. You're really special. You're rare. I would love to do a story about you. He looks into the mirror and goes, yeah, I guess I am pretty special. Then the devil turns to the audience in the movie and says, oh, I got him. My favorite vice is vanity, and I got him. And these are the things you got to work with and be conscious of. If you're conscious of it, you have the first step toward mastery. I am aware of this in myself. And when you get compliments and all, if you understand that there were a lot of unseen forces helping you, including the prayers of your mother, most likely, and your guardian angel, if you were aware of all that help, you wouldn't be so arrogant about the praise. You would say, yeah, boy, it was a journey to get here, though, I can tell you that. And if I didn't have the help of others, I wouldn't be here. Those are the Antichrist, and they take possession of groups and masses and show themselves even in the lives of individual people. So whenever I notice that I'm getting into a contentious situation, or my thoughts are getting contentious, or I'm starting to get bitter, I know, John, you are channeling the Antichrist forces, the anti-illumination, anti-enlightenment, anti-love. Don't go there. Keep the higher zone. Pull out of that stuff. If you start to see fault in someone else, pause and look at yourself. And often I find the honesty in myself saying, man, I understand that fault. I have manifest that fault. I know that fault. And then you really are growing. All right, let's, here it is. I just rewrote it so you could really grasp it. The spirit of hate, the Antichrist, is contention, strife, which means bitter arguing, fault finding, lovers of self, lovers of praise. Watch out for those. And then you can keep the love flowing in everything. Okay, now I want to take you reaching new heights. And so I put this picture here, new heights. Here are some of the things that Edgar taught reaching new heights. Giving of oneself without thought of reward. He said, you know, when a lady asked him what she should do with her life, he said, when you get up in the morning, sit down and say, what can I do today to help someone else? How many of you have felt better when you stopped thinking of your problems and went and helped someone else? It's a truth, isn't it? It's a magical truth. I remember I was in my young 20s and I was all blue and down and depressed, and I heard that one of my friends was trying to move, and I know moving's hell. I said, look, just stop your blues, eat your cereal, and go over there and help him move. By the end of the day, there was nothing spectacular in that moving. It was labor. But by the end of the day, I felt great. I felt good. And yet the guy in the morning had lost it. You know, these are important things. With no thought of getting compliments from him or food or anything, I just helped him move. But there are bigger things than that. You know them. Having active patience. How many of you know this is a teaching right from Cayce? Not passive, but active. Only a few of you. Well, let me explain. He said that patience is a dimension beyond time and space. But it can't be passive patience. Active means you are consciously, intentionally being patient. So a situation is before you and it seems impossible, but you hold on to, in time, this can be resolved, and looking actively for opportunities to resolve it. If a skipper of a ship sails into a storm, he doesn't change his location. He tacks through the storm. Do you see? That's active patience. Do you know what tacking is? In other words, there's no way you're going to sail into that wind, right? But you can catch a little bit of it here, and for maybe a year you have to do this for a little. Then an opportunity comes, oh, catch a little bit of it here. You're still moving toward the target. These are the type of things you have to take hold of, active patience. If you're in not a situation, but a person, you're engaging with a person, active patience is consciously knowing, I'm going to use my brother Gary. I would say, this is going to take some years to solve this problem. We hate each other. And we built this up over many lifetimes. Do you know Edgar and Gertrude's two boys were warriors against each other in past lives? Imagine what those two buggers were in the same family. Well, Gary and I were the same way. And remember, he asked my mom if he could have the house without me in it. That's how tense it was. And I remember actively looking at him and listening to him and thinking, I don't want this karma to continue. I want to resolve this now, and that's going to take active patience. And that poor guy has had to deal with me for 70 years. And I'm telling you, he doesn't say I love you, but he says things that are I love you. And he would have never said that in the teen years or even in the 30s. And some of my political views just infuriate him. And yet I've tried to soften it, accommodate him and all. And here we are. I think we could say we're friends. We're friends. This is the guy that I didn't like, and he didn't like me. And we were born into the same stinking family karmically. Oh yeah, you two don't like each other? Here, how about this? See if you can grow in this situation. My poor mom, God bless her, with those two crazy kids in her. My dad had no patience for it, though. He was the commander-in-chief, he was a naval officer, so he had an attitude about it. So we didn't have, but Mom, she'd be crying in the bedroom because we did something argumentative or wrestled or broke something. And Gary and I'd be at the door. Come on out, Mom, we won't do it anymore. Come on out. And then I'd say something to Gary and he'd say, then we punch each other. And you're still doing it. She'd cry and we'd go, oh gosh, we got her crying again. This is what we had to deal with. But that's not the case these days. So this is active engaging of people and situations with a trust that it will work out if I consciously want to go in that direction. No matter what the storm is, I'm going to achieve that with this soul so I don't have karma the next life with this soul. You get a feel for that? Okay. Having compassion for the situation and perspectives that others are experiencing. We all know people in terrible situations. And holding compassion rather than judgment, somehow we are interconnected. And when one of us holds compassion, not tolerance necessarily, I don't want to go to that point, but compassion, understanding of the situation the other is in, actually helps in some subtle way, because there's a collective consciousness to which we are all connected. And so as I have a thought or a feeling, it touches that other person because they're in the collective too. This is important stuff to work with. It helps you move along. Being a channel of love, comfort, and light to others. Now, all of us understand this, right? Being a channel of love. Did you fall asleep on me? No. So, okay, wave. Yeah. Well, here's what I've come to learn in my own journey. sometimes I'm always holding a whispered prayer in my mind, let me be a channel of your light and love. So I come into a situation, and after 50-some years of holding this mantra, I notice the channel changes. For example, a person will come to me and I'll realize, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a channel of her venting, of her release. So I'm allowing a person to spill their hardships, their pain, the tragedies in my presence. Now, I've got my shields up because I have developed shields very well. But at the same time, I have my compassion. And I say, wow, I'm being a channel for her to empty this stuff out of her. And she'll look into my face and see no judgment. And you know how when someone's venting, we often say, oh, I'm sorry that I learned not to say that to them. But actually look and nod, understanding. But I've had tragedies too, but I'm not going to lay them on you right now. I'm going to let you vent your tragedies, and I'm going to be receptive and aware of it. Sometimes I come in and I realize I'm a channel of information. And often it happens for me. They say, John, what would you do in my case? What would you think? And my little personality say, oh my God, what do I say? And quickly I try to get that bugger to back into the soul self that's connected to the infinite. Guide me, use me. What would you say? What is best? And I try to feel it, and it takes time. So sometimes I have to dance a little bit. And then suddenly I start to get a feel. And interestingly, when I'm getting close to knowing what to say, they say it. And I go, oh my God, we're so one, it's ridiculous. We don't realize how connected we are. We really, the collective, and it came to me and she picked it up or he picked it up and said, I guess I need to do this. And I smile and go, that sounds good. I was hearing the same damn thing. Holy mackerel, we're one. This is the type of channeling. It's complex. Like when you're sitting with a 4-year-old versus a 40-year-old versus an 80-year-old. You're a different type of channel, and they are receptive to you in different ways. This is mastery of fellowship, really getting into it at a high level. Caring without judging or laying a trip on others. How many of you understand what laying a trip is? How many of you have laid a trip? How many of you have had a trip laid on you? Oh my God, I had a lifelong friend say, hey, do you remember I loaned you money 40 years ago and you haven't paid it back? And I said, I don't remember that at all. How much was it? I'll give it to you right now. No, don't worry. Whoa. Whoa. Have you just laid a trip on me? Listen, do you want to keep our loving friendship going? Then don't do that. Don't do that. Oh, it really doesn't matter. Look at me and tell me right in my eye, it doesn't matter. Well, okay, what's the number? I got the check ready. Let's do this. We can't lay trips on each other. In marriage, if you get a conscious marriage going, you will jump right away and say, I know where you're going. Don't go there. And it's a conscious marriage. Doris and I would deliberately set up, okay, I'm not going to think negative of you, and you're not going to think negative of me. And we do well for about a week. Well, it's a marriage, you guys. We got 3 kids, mortgage, all the things that stir a marriage up. Sex, religion, children, how to raise them, what he did and what you said. And boy, she could remember what I said years ago that I couldn't remember at all. But then we quickly, because we had the discipline set, we'd go, oh, you're thinking negatively. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm trying not to. It's real hard with you. Whoa! Yeah, she had to be strong too, but I had to be strong. She was wittier than me. She was more educated than me and all. She could really work me over. Here's the last and most powerful, believe it or not, private prayer. If there is a oneness, and I think all of us think there is, and if there's a collective consciousness, and I think all of us think there is, if I go privately and pray for you, the oneness, it touches you, that someone prayed for you. Do you know how many of you have seen the research by medical people on praying for sick people in hospitals? Yeah, it's unbelievable. And that one research project in which the people that were having the babies didn't know they were being prayed for did better than the holding group. What do you call the holding group? Control group, thank you. The control group wasn't being prayed for, and the women in the prayer group didn't know they were being prayed for, and they statistically had better results than the... You got to accept that you have the power to help another. Now, Edgar warned you about prayer. He wanted surround prayer. Many of you heard of that? No. Okay. Every soul has free will. Even those that you know need a lot of help. You cannot project your will onto their will. Do you understand? So he said, send surround prayer to them. And that's when I think, well, for example, my brother. I think of him and I pray that we can resolve this and that we can soften our view of each other. And but I don't project, God, I want you to zap Gary's will so he stops this and blah, blah, blah. You see? You're not supposed to do that. I'll give you an example from the past life readings. A woman from New York came to Cayce, and she said to him, my present husband is impotent and confined to a wheelchair, but I love him. However, there's this guy at work, and I was wondering if it'd be okay if I had an affair with the guy at work while staying with my husband. Now, here's Edgar in his trance state, and he says, let's see why you're even faced with this situation. In a previous life, your husband was one of the greatest of the crusaders, and he went off to wars often. But every time he did, he put you in lock and key of a chastity belt, and it humiliated you in front of all the other people at the castle. And you swore deep in your heart you'd get even with him. You've got him right where you've always wanted him. And then he said, choose thou. Whoa. Now, I'll bet you that guy at work that she was thinking about, I bet you he was hanging around the castle while everybody was off too. But the theme that he helped build, no soul should use their will to crush another will, a soul's will. If she wanted to be unfaithful, that was her willful mistake. But you don't put her in a chastity belt and crush her will to your will, is what he was trying to teach. Now, she had the reverse opportunity. He's in a wheelchair and he's impotent, but notice what she said. I love him. Interesting, isn't it? There's still something between these two souls. And so he is not judging whether an affair is good or bad. He's just saying to you, here it is before you, choose. And she could choose. You cannot use your will against another, so you can't do willful prayers, zapping another one with your wisdom. It's surround prayer, he says. Unless they asked you to pray for them, then you can go for it. You can attune yourself to the Holy Spirit, all the angels in heaven, Michael the archangel and his legions, and zap them because they asked for it. You're allowed to do all of that if there is a mutual agreement to do this. I actually, when I was younger and I was training with Hugh Lynn trained all of us. When we were in our 20s, he had all these programs for youth. And so I was practicing, and there was this a young lady my age, and she had a physical problem. So I started doing this prayer. I wasn't in her presence. I started doing this prayer. And then I saw her a couple of days later, and she said, "Were you praying for me 2 nights ago at such and such a time?" I said, "I was." She said, "You know what I felt? A bunch of medicine men, Indian men, were dancing around me." I said, "Well, I had nothing to do with them, but if that's how the prayer manifested, cool." And then she got better. She got better. Also, Hugh Lynn was teaching us, back then we were casting out spirits. I know we don't do it anymore, but yeah, we had a lot of possession back then. Now it's sort of cleared out. You don't get so many calls. But Yulin taught us how to deal with invasive dark forces when a person asks you for help. So I got engaged in that with him teaching. He was really good. He was really good. And I was just one of many students with him, and learned how to work with that and the higher spirit. And it's not you. You cannot do it. Like Jesus said, you can't add an inch to your height or a hair on your head. You must have the higher forces. In Alcoholics Anonymous, that's one of their key teachings. You can't do it by yourself. You need the higher forces, and you need fellowship. Like-minded people. This is study group. You need the higher forces with you. I never go into anything thinking I can do this. I can attune myself to a higher force that I love and loves me, and I've had intimate relations with, so I know we have a connection. I have felt it. I know when it's there and when it's not there. That's what I have to have. But I also have to have like-minded souls. Remember when Jairus' daughter died? No? Yeah. You don't remember? All right, let me tell you. A daughter died at that time, and Jesus comes to help, and there are a whole bunch of people mourning. You know how they mourn, they wail and all. He comes and he says, "Clear the people out. She only sleeps." Now, you and I know from dream study, sleep is the shadow of death. I guess they didn't know that back then, but he's using the phrase, "she only sleeps." Sleep is the shadow of death. Okay. They have to go away because they all are thinking and acting death. He needs them out of the way, and he only takes in a few of his disciples and the mother and father because they're desperate for the daughter to rise. So he's got positive energy. Do you see what's happening? You have to have that too, and you have to stay with positive people, people that enhance you, and you have a contact with the infinite, and that adds to you, so you can do certain things, you can go into certain situations. And of course, she rises from sleep. He calls her soul back is what he does. If you read it carefully, he just calls her soul back. Then he turns, let's show you how practical he is. He turns to the Father and he says, "She's hungry, she needs food." That's Edgar Cayce's the same way. He never overlooks the body and the bodily needs, even though we're talking spiritual and soul self and all. These are practical, wonderful spirit and body activities, and they expand your consciousness when you're engaging with other people. It's really important. In private prayer you can do anytime. Just do surround prayer, Edgar says. Don't try to crush another's will or redirect it. Do you know he was called on by people who said the young man is going to commit suicide, find him. So Edgar's in trance, said, oh, we found him. Well, stop him. No, we're not doing that. We can surround him with the right vibes, but he has to use his will to accept that and then not kill himself. Do you see? Even Edgar Cayce paused. He sent the light. It's that young man's choice. Fortunately, in this case, he didn't kill himself. But those are insights. By studying these stories in the readings, you learn so much about human nature and the forces. This is an interesting one. An individual is a portion of the great human family. Any individual? All individuals? A little starving one in his mother's arms in Africa? A warrior on the Russian front with Ukraine? Individuals are a portion of the great human family. So it's really a concept of collective oneness of the soul group again. Now Jesus takes it further and says, even the least among you. Here's a quote from Matthew. Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. God doesn't want any soul to be lost. So in your family, and I've got them in mind, you must know some that you think are totally lost and are not worth it. They are. And your silent prayer for them can be your great channel of healing and guidance to them, because you're bringing the light around them, and in a moment of reflection, they can access that. So there is no one outside your influence. That's why so many are praying for the wars and the people. And you watch humanity do terrible things to one another. Remember the Beatles song, isn't it a pity, isn't it a shame how we break each other's heart and bring each other pain? It's you see it on the news every night. This is human activity, but you and I can influence it with prayer. Remember, 10 can save a city. Do you guys remember the magazine Guidepost? Yeah. In there, the editor one time got a letter from two old ladies who didn't know each other. I've shared this story before. And they both said that they woke up at 4 in the morning and were told or motivated to go out on the street and pray at 4 in the morning. And they wrote to the editor and said, they didn't know each other. I would never do this, but I was impelled. I had to go out there. And they did it. And at 5 in the morning, an earthquake hit the city, destroyed all the buildings, and didn't kill anybody. And they wrote that. And so in Guideposts, they always had his mysterious ways. And they had this story in there. Those two ladies, two old ladies. And somehow they saved the lives of the people in their town. This was in California. And Edgar has it in his readings all the time. Remember Sodom and Gomorrah? Well, if you find 50, if you find 20, if you find 10, okay, if we find, but they don't. So engage with you want to be a channel of light and love, do it with your family and all, but budget, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes for what you see needs prayer. And now you're really in the big game. You're in the major leagues now. Okay, let's really get into it. Look at this. Can you have fellowship with each one of these? Look at the variety of personalities and all. And I think to myself, now, how could I accommodate that person? How would I listen? How do you think that person understands? What's the way in which they can feel fellowship and still be themselves? And so I look at all these faces. By the way, these are all A.R.E faces. I guess, how many of you know who these are? Yeah, me, good. Okay, so here's the list. Listening with an open mind, sharing in an accommodating tone and manner, choosing words wisely. I would not use certain words with him that I might use with her. I know she has a PhD, you see. Okay. Allowing for a variety of ideas, and that's a variety of people there. This is real mastery of fellowship when you get to this level. Okay, a big American newspaper has this picture. You're going to be surprised what the caption is. I was shocked when I saw the caption. This is the Philadelphia Inquirer. There's the photo. Here's the caption. An increasingly mixed race America. I looked at this and I said, these guys know nothing about mixed race. This is nothing. How about also mixed gender? Hey, let's really get into it, you know? So I put all this together. Oh my gosh, fellowship. You have to accommodate, understand, appreciate gay, lesbian, different cultures, different races. I mean, the key is choose to be kind over being right, and you'll be right every time. I mean, look at the happiness here. Am I going to walk up and say, whoa, this is sin? Look at the joy. I'm just being kind. Right is not what they're looking for. They're in an aspect of human existence from which they will learn. You see, every activity is an opportunity to grow, soul grow, and learn. And they will engage that activity. Cayce gave so many past life readings for people of mixed experiences in previous lives that preordained them to a certain situation in this life. And I came to understand the complexity. You must just allow it. It's the process of growth. But this is a challenge for you. If you really want to be a master of fellowship, you got to be able to be kind and appreciative of these people. Now, I think this group, I can really deal with every one of them, but I'd have a little trouble with the guys with the jewels as his eyeliner. That would hurt me a little bit. But then I thought, you know, I think he'd have a harder time with me. An old white man, he'd say, oh, God, is he going to judge me and everything, you know? But the way he smiles, I think, you know, I could probably deal with his jeweled eyeliner. I probably would ask the wrong question, like, how do you glue that on? This is the growth of mastery of love for one another, for different human beings. Now, I was in New York City last weekend, and I can tell you, this is mild compared to what you see there on the streets. And my daughter-in-law said to me, listen, John, here's the key. Don't stare. So we get on the subway, and she's sitting across from me, and she leans over and goes, you're staring. It's just so weird. There's so many strange people. Here's a big group of mixed people. But what's wrong with this photo? What's missing?
Different ages.
You're close. Here's what I saw. Hey, Where are the wise and wonderful gray-haired people in this photo?
Different ages.
That's right. Life isn't all young people. We're here. We were there. You know? So here's my photo to get a little more gray into it, and different cultures. I often wish I was multilingual. I really appreciate multilingual people who at least can have a little dialogue. I traveled for A.R.E. all over the world. As you may know, I did over 100 tours all around the world. China, Tibet, Turkey, everywhere you can think of. And if I could have only been multilingual, so I hope in the next incarnation I can have that. My wife had that, and one of my sons had that ability. I couldn't hear language that way. Plus, I was a writer of English, and I was so bad at English, I had to devote myself to learning English. So I had no time to learn another language, but it really would help. Okay, now I've given you all the love and the good work we should do. Now I want to give you the warnings. And these are right out of Scripture and Cayce. Discernment. Despite becoming a master of fellowship, there are motivations out there that are harmful, and you must discern. Jesus said, test the spirits. You don't get figs from thistles. You understand? You have to discern. The thing is, don't condemn. This is a condition that person's in, but the journey's long. They could be moderated in 20 years, 10 years. Maybe something would happen in 1 year that would change their hearts. You don't know. But man, you better shield yourself and know I am not engaging here because this is not healthy for me. Perceive their motivations. Next, shield your pearls. Please don't expose. Like me and my brother Gary, I did more harm to Gary laying my good wisdom on him when he couldn't hear it. And I learned quickly, this is what Jesus meant when he said, keep your pearls, do not cast your pearls before swine. Not that Gary's swine, but he's in a condition that he cannot understand or appreciate. Don't do it. Center and recenter often. Believe me, this is the most important thing in my 70 years. Absolutely, center and recenter is often. And Jesus did this, but we don't really know it because they don't publish it. But here it is, Luke 5. The news about him spread all the more so that crowds of people came to hear him and to be healed of his sickness. But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. If the Master had to do this, you and I definitely need to do it often. There's no way. I mean, this world will suck you dry like a leaf in the fall and leave you by the side of the road. You must retreat, renew yourself regularly, center yourself, get that ideal established again, get that attunement established again, the connection, then come out here and let us muck it up for you. But you got to go back regularly. Believe me, that's a very important teaching. Engage life and others with God, with the infinite eternal life force within you. Don't try to go it alone. You can't do it. The Holy Spirit, or whatever word you use, has to be with you to help you get through it best you can. And there are a lot of forces. I'll go through these for you. First, discernment means you have to develop your intuition. You need to intuit. Now, most of the scientists, I tried to understand intuition, and they always equated it to instinct, meaning it's something that is naturally within you, And you have a knowing, and it comes from nothing out here. It's just within you. So you've got to intuit. You've got to feel it. Now, the way it happened for me was I would do this, and then I'd notice whether I was right or wrong. I intuited incorrectly, or I had a prejudice I didn't know about, you see? And I'd say, okay, now the next one I'm going to try to intuit. Oh, and my intuition grew stronger and clearer. I could even feel when my personality was projecting its attitude on a person. I got to where, and I would just look at that bugger and say, get out of the way. But you really need to develop a feeling from within. That's the warning. My wife had it. Every time she saw a person, she could lean into me and say, stay away from that one. And I'd say, okay, oh, cool. She was real spooky. The first week after I married her, we're sleeping. I have a 8 a.m. meeting that's very important. We're dead asleep, and suddenly she wakes me up and says, don't move. I was asleep. Don't move. They're moving through the room right now. Don't move. Now the hair's going up on the back of my, I'm going, whoa, what did I marry? Yikes. Okay, they're gone. She rolls over. Well, I can't go back to sleep. So she had a lot of natural intuition. Shield your pearls. Edgar Cayce said each one of us has a place deep within us that has never been touched by darkness, never touched by anything that has tainted it. It is of the Mother and Father God, perfect little gem within each of us. And he said, if you knew that, you wouldn't judge anyone. Everyone has that gem, that pearl, that purity. You have it in you. Shield it, grow with it, and be careful how you share it. Your better self is within you, so you have to center. You have to center. Your personality just loves to be active, and it'll get more active until you retreat and get to your soul self. Don't go it alone. You have, Edgar brought up your guardian angel. Every one of us, he says, has a guardian angel. It's not there to attract your attention. It's there to help you with whispers. So you're never going to be suddenly in the presence of your guardian angel and goes, okay, you ready? That's not happening. It doesn't want that sort of attention. It wants to guide you subtly. But there are other angels, lots of angels. If you've ever studied angelology, and they're specialized. They're specialized, and they can help. And of course, God is the infinite, eternal conceiver of you. And Edgar says he intentionally conceived you. Consciously and intentionally said the party wouldn't be the same without you. And you were conceived. You believe that? That's important. If you grasp that, man, now these are really your parents. You really feel, God, they wanted me. They love me. They want me in the family. And all these other people, I'm part of that family. And it wouldn't be the same for them if I wasn't here. Your better self, please. So Edgar comes out with the term, it's your birthright, because you were born to be an expression of the Creator and the creative forces. What do you think about that? It's your birthright. It's really something. Fellowship. Okay, now I have saved time, and Kevin's got the music. Let me explain something first. Edgar Cayce said music is the bridge from the finite to the infinite, from the individual to the universal. But he did describe Ra-Ta rejuvenated. You know, Ra-Ta was one of his Egyptian incarnations. Those of you who may not know that, Edgar Cayce was a high priest in ancient Egypt called Ra-Ta, and he became decrepit and old. So he went into the temple and rejuvenated himself using wind instruments, and stringed instruments, and tuning his centers. Now, at the time, let's see, I probably was in my 30s, I guess. My oldest boy was playing the violin. And so I said, James, listen, I'm going to lie on the bed, and I want you to go through the scales, and I'm going to tune my chakras to those scales and rejuvenate myself back into 20. Well, that was going great. I was really going. Then he said, Dad, stay right there. I'll be right back. He goes and gets his guitar and amp, electric guitar and amp. He comes in and he goes, and I'm on the bed going, James, no, that doesn't work. Oh, you want the violin again? But this is something, these pieces of music that I'm going to play, and Kevin's going to help me here, they are deliberately designed. Edgar said, the motivation of the composer influences the effect of the music. This composer, Karanesh, deliberately developed music to get you high and raise your vibes. And we have 3 pieces here. You can take a picture of this after we go, but know that I've got the details. You can get them on Amazon. I got it all on Amazon. He lives in Hawaii now, but he's German born. He went to India and studied music and all of this. So, all you've got to do is let the music carry you, because the composer designed the music to carry you to a higher place. You ready? Yeah. Okay, Kevin, hit it.